Hello and welcome to the FNS40217 Certificate 4 in Accounting and Bookkeeping Student Information session. With me today, I have Chief Academic Officer Ione McKimmie. Ione, welcome.
Hi James, it's great to be here talking about accounting and bookkeeping.
Excellent. And look, it really is a great course. We have fantastic student and graduate outcomes from this one in particular. And I think a lot of it comes from perhaps not just the course itself, which is delivered, I think, in a really clever and fantastic way, but also the sort of demand that we're seeing out there in the industry for individuals with these sort of skill sets of knowledge, skills and competencies. And of course, we'll dive into that a little bit today. But first and foremost, let's have a bit of a look at the course outline, a background and some of the key areas of competency that it goes about delivering. And I'll hand on over to you.
Thanks, James. So the Certificate 4 in Accounting and Bookkeeping is delivered over 24 months, which allows students lots and lots of time to practice using software, to really take a deep dive into their course, to work their way through the course and experience all of those different aspects that we undertake in an accounting and a bookkeeping role. Accounting and bookkeeping really is an integral role in any organisation. And there's, of course, different ways that we go about working in accounting and bookkeeping. So we might be wanting to run our own consultancy and work for other people and provide those services. We might be working for a small, medium or a large organisation, but we also might be, working in a different context as well as a team leader or a manager, and part of our job is to manage a payroll. So there's a whole lot of different reasons why we'd study accounting and bookkeeping. So the course itself includes everything from preparing financial reports, so your weekly, monthly, quarterly and yearly reporting, preparing and lodging business activity statements, your general ledger administration and chart of accounts management, which is an integral skill that we really do need when we're working in accounting and bookkeeping. Cloud computing, so what we do through this course is we utilise MyOb software that students are able to download and install on their own computers, and then which then allows students to have lots and lots of extra time to practice as well. So processing financial transactions, which is managing our accounts, data management, processing invoices, creating purchase orders, all of those things with financial transactions. So there's a lot of skills that we actually develop as we're studying accounting and bookkeeping. So part of what we do as accountants and bookkeepers as well is we work in an administration capacity quite often. So we'll have people coming to us from all different levels of the organisation, and they'll be requesting information from us as well. So those administration skills are super important as an accountant and bookkeeper. Also time management, because it's busy. It's a busy, exciting role that touches on every aspect of operations in any business. So one of those other skills that we also look at is planning and risk management as well, because it is part of what we do as accountants and bookkeepers. So it is a broad course which does introduce students to just about everything you would do if you were working as an accountant or in an accounting and bookkeeping role.
I think those core transferable skills that you're sort of referring to at the end is really crucial, particularly for a course such as this, as there's the application where you might operate perhaps in a consultancy kind of a function where you're working for yourself. So those communication skills by way of perhaps, liaising with or acquiring new clients is really important. Or even then perhaps even working within an organisation where the bookkeeping and accounting functions can be very much a shared service function where you have multiple departments that will be in contact with you, in order to manage things such as, invoicing or, acquiring statements of accounts or things like that. So certainly a lot of benefit from that broad approach and broad range of skill sets and competencies that students get exposure to, but also develop throughout that 24-month period. So with that in mind, let's have a look at the actual units themselves that students are exposed to throughout that 24-month period.
Thanks, James. So, students, if they elect to take up the classroom tutorial options, will have regular contact twice per week with a tutor. For students who are confident and feel that that's not necessary, they're of course able to undertake their study in a self-directed way. But all students throughout the course will study these same units. So again, I mentioned before that the course is a broad course, so it covers every aspect of what we do when we're working in an accounting and bookkeeping role. So we look at working effectively, as it's called here, in the accounting and bookkeeping industry. So we take a deep dive into the industry. We explore what accounting and bookkeeping is all about. We also look at the requirements for continuing professional education and ethics, and how ethics in this type of role really is important. We then start to build on the course. So we practice performing our financial calculations. We look at working with our software in introducing cloud computing, and then we of course set up and operate our accounting system and set up a company file. So throughout the course, students are working with the same company that they've created to complete all of the tasks. So the course is, if you like, encouraging and supporting students to actually work in that end-to-end process, or with those end-to-end processes that they would work with in any organisation. We then look at processing financial transactions. We look at creating our BAS, and we look at managing a payroll, and how to evaluate and authorize payment requests, because sometimes we might have a request internally from somewhere in the organization that says, hey, can you pay this account? And we need to make sure that we have authorization to do that. So we look at that. We look at authorizations and how to manage authorization requests. Importantly, also, we look at delivering and monitoring a service to customers. So we don't just have relationships internally, but we also have relationships externally. So with our customers and our suppliers. So each of those, so if you like, we can consider them internal and external customers. So we look at that communication, and how to actually ensure that the communication internally and externally it remains really effectively. The other thing that we do look at too is managing personal work priorities and professional development. For people who are wanting to do their number of hours of experience to register as a BAS agent, then the course does actually support the pathway to that. So the requirements for registration is referred to, and continuing registration is referred to continuous professional education or continuous professional development. So we actually do touch on that in the manage personal work priorities and professional development, and we also look at time management as well. And oh, please excuse me. And we also, again, touch on that communication process. So as I said before, it is a very broad course which prepares students to be able to undertake an accountant's and bookkeeper's role, and it's but more importantly, students are able to actually access the course and be able to undertake the tasks rather than just learn about what they are.
And we'll do a bit of a deep dive into the learning materials in just a moment's time. And I think what we can do there is explore perhaps how some of these units are brought to life and what sort of learning materials students are exposed to. But before we do that, what I thought I'd just quickly go over, and I'll get you to jump in as well, Iona, is some of the, I think, additional course and academic pathway opportunities that are available to students who take on the FNS40217 Certificate for in Accounting and Bookkeeping. Now, it may very well be that students who take on this course would like to operate solely in an accounting and bookkeeping capacity, whether that be with an organisation or even going out on their own. Now, if that's the case, there's a really, really nice opportunity by way of a dual qualification, which is the dual Certificate for in Entrepreneurship and New Business and the FNS 40217 Certificate for in Accounting and Bookkeeping. And what that does is not only just obviously delivers the competencies, skills and knowledge, which we've talked about earlier on with respect to the accounting and bookkeeping areas of competency, but also those that are attached to entrepreneurship and new business. So when it comes to setting up a new business, and it could be touching on things such as developing marketing plans, customer acquisition, even key administration functions that go with starting and of course running a new business. So that's a really, really nice opportunity, particularly for those who are looking at taking on bookkeeping and accounting in sort of that flexible, perhaps working for yourself consultancy kind of arrangement. Then there is, of course, the pathway opportunity. Now, it may very well be that your sort of medium to long-term goal is to move into accounting. Okay, and more often than not, certainly bookkeeping lays amazing foundations for transition into those common roles. And what's really, really nice is that there's academic pathways that will really accompany you by way of your career and professional development, and develop the skill sets and competencies that are aligned with moving from a bookkeeping role into more of an accounting-based role. And that could be sort of something as far as, say, management accounting or organisational accounting. Now, we've got the pathway up there in front of us, and Iona, I hand on maybe you talk to us a little bit about what that pathway might look like, and of course what some of the benefits are for students who choose to, of course, take that on.
Certainly. So, as students complete the certificate for in accounting and bookkeeping, they're really, if their interest is in management accounting, students can consider some different options with their diploma of accounting. So the diploma of accounting has a management accounting focus, but also students are able to elect to undertake a skill set which is for payroll administration as well, that can be directly credited to their diploma of accounting. Students, once they've completed their diploma of accounting, can move on to the advanced diploma of accounting, and there's a number of credits into that course from the diploma of accounting. And again, students can elect, if they want to look at payroll administration at that level with their advanced diploma of accounting. The advanced diploma of accounting touches on that higher level of accounting, or pure level, more pure accounting, if you like, and it touches on, for example, audit as well as accounting functions. So the pathway really is designed for students who, once they've completed their certificate for in accounting and bookkeeping, and of course, some students may choose not to go on and study the diploma or the advanced diploma. But for those wanting to continue and study the diploma of accounting, they're really able to focus on payroll, or focus on management accounting, or even both if they want to, and again into the advanced diploma of accounting. The dual qualification that you mentioned earlier, James, is really ideal for students who are wanting to start their own accounting and bookkeeping service or consultancy, but also the course includes things such as creating business plans, which we're often asked to do in an accounting and bookkeeping role, and especially in smaller organisations. So it has many applications and many outcomes for students that are interested in looking at that pathway. The other thing I will mention here is we've got software short courses. So here at Mentor Education, we also, with an education partner, we make available the software accreditations for both MyOb and Xero. So students, if they want to, are able to add those accreditations to their enrolment in any one of these levels or any one of these courses that we can see here on the screen.
Excellent. And look, probably just worth confirming as well. Now, throughout the course itself, the Certificate 4 in Accounting and Bookkeeping, students will work directly with the MyOb software package. Okay, but if in addition to that you'd like to develop skills perhaps in the Xero area, then there is that option to add on. And it could be an advanced Xero certificate package, which covers really most of the functions that are involved in Xero, or you could pick an individual one, which might be sort of the Xero payroll function or whatever it may be. And then that same sort of breakdown also applies for the MyOb there as well. But again, look, if you've got any questions about the pathway, the dual qualifications, the software short courses, or what options are available to you, head on over to the website, or probably the best thing you can do, of course, is speak with one of the education advisors, and they can talk through directly with you, of course, what all the options are. Now, the other thing that I just thought would be good to clarify, I just had a question about it, and it's with respect to the 1,000 hours of practical component. Okay, now that's directly attached to the BAS registration, not to the actual qualification itself. Now, would you be able to just clarify that for us?
That's correct. So students will need, if they are mentor education students and they're wanting to apply for accreditation with the Tax Practitioner Board as a BAS agent, students will need to complete those units as part of a Certificate 4 in Accounting and Bookkeeping. So, excuse me. So the Tax Practitioner Board, and I would suggest everybody actually that is interested in BAS accreditation. The link is on the website on Mentor Education's website for this course. I'd suggest that you explore the Tax Practitioner Board website and the requirements for registration as a BAS agent. Just to restate that, so everyone clearly understands that the number of hours required by the Tax Practitioner Board is set by the Tax Practitioner Board. And I would encourage all students that are wanting to undertake BAS agent registration or go through the application process, actually review the requirements on the Tax Practitioner Board website.
Excellent. Now, we've talked a little bit about certainly the application of this particular qualification, and we've just got some examples up there. Certainly the relevant industry sectors could be small business, business administration, asset maintenance, and of course accounting and bookkeeping, and relevant occupations, certainly outside perhaps bookkeeper or accounts officer, include things like small business managers and stuff like that. And we haven't really touched on that by way of a qualification, and certainly developing skills and competencies in this area are also really beneficial to those perhaps who are running their own small business as well, because it does give them insight into managing that function within their own business and their own organisation. So perhaps if your business isn't in a position of, at a stage where you're outsourcing those functions and you'd like to kind of bring those in internally, certainly, from an owner-operator point of view, again, there can be some real benefits for you there as well. Just from industry statistics based on seek.com.au from November this year, actually today, we can see the average salary of 60,000, but a really, really high job satisfaction of 4.4 out of 5, which is a real standout there for us as well. And of course, head on over to any of those websites so you can have a look and get a bit of a feel as as to the demand and requirements out there for individuals and professionals in the space with the skill sets that we've talked about today. Now, we gave you a bit of a teaser before, but let's dive into it now and have a look at the learning materials. Over to you, Maya.
Okay, so the learning materials for this course are really quite, how do I put this? There's lots and lots of materials that students will access and utilise as part of their learning process for the course. So there are textbooks available in some units. There are also learner guides, which are readers, if you like, self-directed learning activities, which are in the form of practice activities using MyOb. So students throughout the course, all the way through the course, will undertake self-directed learning activities, and you will practice using your MyOb software excuse me, all the way through the course. And we really encourage students, where that opportunity is offered in each unit of study, do some extra practice. So instead of creating 3 invoices, for example, create 6. So there is lots of scope for students to be able to explore their software and really use it for and really use their software for their activities throughout the course. There is also live tutorials that are provided twice weekly for students. So students log in with and have a session with an educator twice a week. One session is really knowledge specific, so it's about all of the things that we need to know, for example, when we're doing a bank reconciliation. And the second session is a study support and assessment support session. So students are actually able to ask questions in a live environment and have regular contact with the educators for their course rather than pre-recorded webinars, unless of course there's a reason for something to be pre-recorded. Also in the course is a full version of the software, all of the activities and the files for activities. Students, of course, if they're wanting to utilize Xero for any one of those activities can, but they will need to complete their assessment tasks using the software that's supplied with the course materials. Now, the reason for that is because the capstone assessment, or the final assessment for this course, is that students will submit their company file that they've been working with all the way through the course, practicing in as one of their final assessment tasks for the course. So important to just it's an important thing. So if you've added the Xero software accreditation to the course, yes, you can practice in both. That's great, but you must complete your assessment tasks with MyOb.
Okay, great. So if, for example, you were using Xero in your work, on a day-to-day, there would be an opportunity, of course, to practice some of the exercises that come up in the learning materials. But when it comes to completing your assessment and things like that, certainly from the beginning, what we're working with is an issued company file, which is based on the MyOb software package, which again will kind of work with and manipulate the data inside that company file throughout the course itself, and then submit that as part of our final assessment.
That's correct, James. So it's important that that students that are in the course utilise MyOb to undertake their assessment tasks. But of course, the practice activities can be applied to Xero just as well as MyOb. So you're able to utilise those practice activities in both in both lots of software.
Excellent. Now, in addition to the learning materials themselves, there's also a recommendation for students to take advantage of association and memberships by way of the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers and the Institute of Public Accountants. And I certainly know that you couldn't recommend students getting involved in this by way of the student membership, which of course is made available to them highly enough.
Most definitely. I myself am a member of the Institute of Public Accountants, and I undertake my yearly CPD and CPE via the Institute of Public Accountants, but also by attending some opportunities with the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. So with this course, both the ICB, or the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, and the Institute of Public Accountants make free student membership available to our students here at Mentor Education. The resources that are available through both organisations are invaluable to us as accountants and bookkeepers. But they also provide us with a lot of opportunities. So, for example, every year there is International Bookkeepers Day, and the ICB make a whole range of activities available free to their members for continuous professional development. So it's really worthwhile. There's also the Good Bookkeepers Guide, which is available through the ICB. Again, an invaluable resource. The networking opportunities that both of these organisations provide us as accountants and bookkeepers is invaluable. Our professional network, as we work in this industry, is always supportive, and it is always a great source of of inspiration to us, but also it gives us a network that we can reach out to and ask for support. So problem solving is a great thing that I can guarantee you that the accountants and bookkeepers networks that you would have access to are incredibly helpful. So I encourage every student in this that takes up the course to take up the opportunity of the free memberships that are available with both the ICB and the Institute of Public Accountants.
Now, I think what's really good about it as well is this idea of currency of knowledge. So you've kind of got access to what's going on in the industry at this point in time, and it couples really well, particularly with some of the more sort of, I think, theoretical and skill-based units you're doing there as well. So that, there's an opportunity, I think, in many respects to kind of reflect on the information that's coming directly to you from these associations. And, at the same time you're working through a unit of competency or whatever it may be, you begin to imagine how those concepts sort of apply in the real world. So, it really kind of augments that learning experience so that, upon completion, you step into that role with currency of knowledge, industry ready, and, really ready to hit the road, straight away, which I think is really, really positive. Now, one area of the course, which is always of great interest to students, irrespective of what course it is, what level you're doing. Students all around the world certainly share a great deal of interest in assessments. So, Hannah, talk to us about what assessments look like.
All right, so your assessments throughout the Certificate for in Accounting and Bookkeeping are made up of commonly 2 or 3 different types of tasks. So you may have short answer questions and be asked to respond to a case study. You may actually have activities that you complete, such as undertaking a bank reconciliation and then saving that file and submitting your bank reconciliation file, your MyO file, with your assessment guide. You may actually have projects where you create a portfolio of finance policies and procedures, and then you make comment and reflect on those policies and procedures and how you believe that they would relate to your day-to-day tasks. So there is always a mix of assessment tasks, but they will always directly relate to the unit that you're learning through, that you've been learning through. So, for example, it may be business reports. So you may actually be able to generate a range of business reports as one of your assessment tasks and submit those. So as I said before, for each assessment, you'll be asked to undertake maybe 2, very occasionally 3 of these different types of assessment tasks rather than all of them in one, which would be a very long assessment, I think, James, that none of us would ever get completed. So as I said before, commonly two of these different types of assessment tasks would be in your assessments, maybe 3. So you may be asked to create a presentation, undertake a project, and complete some short answer questions, for example.
Okay, great. Yeah. So for everybody tuning in, if you cast your mind back to a few slides ago where we looked at all of the individual units that are covered throughout the course, you might expect perhaps 2 or 3 of these different assessment types for each of those. So it wouldn't be all of these assessment functions for every single one of those units. Okay, so just to put your mind at ease there. And of course, really in many respects, I think certainly from our point of view, we really consider the assessment function to be really an extension of the learning experience. And it's an opportunity to kind of put into practice and put into play what it is that you've been working on and learning throughout each and individual unit. Now, the other thing, Ione, is probably just worth touching on is the sort of processes and management functions that we've got in place with respect to sort of, turnaround times and student feedback and things like that when it comes to putting assessments in. What would that kind of look like from a student's point of view?
So students will complete their assessments. They'll upload their assessment into the learning management system, and commonly the assessment turnaround time for an assessment that's been submitted is usually around 20 days, but it could of course be shorter. It would depend on the unit and actually the rate of submissions at the time. But commonly, it's around about 20 days for students to receive their results once they've submitted their assessment tasks.
Excellent. And what we'll do in a few moments' time as well is we'll actually talk about some of the support functions that are available for students, so through the education assessment process as well. So stay tuned for that. But before we get into that, what I thought I'd do is just quickly talk about the online learning experience and some of the requirements that you need to get access to the learning portal or the learning management system, as we call it. So the first thing, of course, you're going to need is access to a strong and reasonable internet connection. You're going to want access to a laptop and desktop computer, and then on that laptop or desktop computer, a browser. So it can be Chrome, Firefox, whatever it is that you choose to use. And then through that browser, you'll be able to log into the learning management system, and there you'll get access to anything and everything that you need by way of learning materials, and in addition to the assessments as well. You're also provided access to any of the software that you're required to download as well, so which in this case, of course, is MILD, and that's provided to you throughout the initial enrolment process as well. One of the great benefits, of course, about the online learning is that you can do it whenever suits you. Okay, so you can really access the learning management system 24 hours a day, which is really beneficial, particularly if you're working or perhaps you're running a family or you're doing all of the above and you need to kind of squeeze that learning in times which suits you. You can, of course, do that. So you can log into the learning management system anytime that works. Again, one of the other benefits, particularly when it comes to learning materials that I like to bring up as well, is if you do have an opportunity perhaps to do some reading on the train, in transit, or in bed, or whatever it may be, you may choose to do that on a tablet or a phone. So again, you can access the learning management system using just about any smart device. But of course, when it comes to completing the assessments and things like that, you're definitely going to want to have access to a laptop or desktop computer. Very difficult otherwise. The other thing, of course, which we made mention of earlier on as well, is the online classroom-based tutorials. So this is an opportunity, and they happen each and every week, sometimes a couple of times a week, and they work through each of the different units. And it's an opportunity for you to get involved in a live classroom environment. So you can interact directly with your educator. So ask questions in real time, of course, go through the course material. And then the other thing, which I think is really nice, is that it's really kind of designed to mimic that face-to-face classroom environment. So you do get that sense where you can also interact with other students who are in the class with you, and perhaps even develop that professional relationship throughout that time when you're learning and turning up to tutorials there as well. And of course, more often than not, somebody may actually ask a question in the tutorial that perhaps you haven't thought of or you have thought of, and then you can get an answer to that there as well. So again, that's kind of one of the benefits of the virtual classroom-based online tutorials that can happen, in this space, which often happen kind of in that face-to-face environment. We certainly do our very best to make it as interactive as we possibly can. Now, the other thing, of course, another question which we often get about the virtual tutorials and online classroom-based. Now, if you can't access a tutorial for a certain week, don't worry, you can get access to previous recordings of tutorials as well. So if you're worried, and you wanted to go back and perhaps review or whatever it may be, that option's available to you as well. Another great benefit is that idea of connectivity. And I can certainly speak from personal experience doing both face-to-face and online-based learning. It's really, really nice to have a sense of connectivity with both, I think, your cohort who you're studying with, but also the education institution that you're working with as well. So knowing that there's a tutorial, a couple of tutorials, live tutorials each and every week, really kind of also provides you that sense of structure, I think, which links in really, really well. So if there's an opportunity for you to take advantage of and get involved in the online classroom-based tutorials, my recommendation would be to take it. But of course, if you just like to do it completely self-directed, that option is available to you as well. Now, course 24 months in total, and really from the very beginning, you're exposed to a whole range of support. So perhaps even before you enroll, one of the support functions that you can link in with is our education advice team. So they can talk to you about what it is that you're currently doing, perhaps what qualifications you've already done, where it is that you'd like to go, what your career aspirations are, and then use that information to work with you, of course, to identify what's going to be the most appropriate course or education solution for you. And also, of course, look at other things such as payment plans or whatever's going to work for you with respect to enrolling. Then, of course, once enrolled, you get access to our team of student support officers who can help you with just about anything and everything. So that could be onboarding for the learning management system. So when you first log in, if you've got any questions as to how to navigate the space, they're there to help you with that. It could be password resets. It could even be setting up appointments with the education team, who also offer a whole range of different support functions that are available to students. And Iona, as our academic officer, you're probably the best person to talk about the support that's available by way of the education, training and assessment team.
Thanks, James. As James said before, here at Mentor Education, we really do offer a very broad range of support to students, which includes, as it says here on the screen, email and phone support during Monday to Friday between 9 and 5 p.m. Students can actually call in on our 1300 number and ask to speak to an educator for their course during those hours. Or they're also able to call in or email to make an appointment booking to speak one-on-one with an educator or trainer for their course. Those appointments are available between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And in some courses they're available at other times. So we really encourage students to contact us and let us know that they're feeling challenged or they're wanting a specific question or some assessment support, in addition to what they've actually explored in the assessment support tutorials as well. So there's a range of other supports that we provide here at Mentor Education because we understand life happens, and we really do understand life happens. So there are course extensions made available for students that are nearing the end of their course and they haven't been able to complete it for one reason or another. Students are able to resubmit or have remarked work that they've received feedback from an educator or a trainer to say that they're not yet competent. So they're able to undertake that. And students are also, as I mentioned before, able to book those one-on-one support sessions. The other student supports that are available is, and especially for this course, we do encourage everyone to shout out. There is additional support available for software setup and installation for your software for the course. So, as I said before, there's a range of things and a range of reasons why students may require support, but we really do encourage you to reach out to us and discuss your needs with the student support team, and we'll work with you to find a solution and have that support put in place for you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Particularly, and it is a term that we, or a phrase that we use quite often, is that life happens. And we recognise that, and of course, fitting study in, with anything and everything else that's going on in life, and certainly with our cohort, we find that people are often, running a family or running a business or working full time, and then squeezing, studying in all around that. So there are times where, as it says there, you may feel lost or stuck, or you need that additional flexibility. Or if you do need extension, or even to suspend your course for a period of time, and it might be that perhaps that there's a family emergency, you need to go overseas for a month or two, or whatever it may be. Give us a call, flick us an email, let us know, and of course we can suspend the course for that period of time. So, and then certainly the last thing you want to worry about is perhaps, the duration of, time that you have to complete the course is running out, and you're managing anything and everything else that's going on. So we certainly recognise and understand that these things happen. Keep us in the loop, and we're definitely there to work with you on those sort of things. Number of questions that we often get asked is, can I get government funding? And the short answer to that is no. So all of our courses are self-funded by students, or in some cases by their employers. But that said, we do have payment plans and options available. If you've got any questions about that, speak to our education advice team, and they can go through all the different options that are available to you. You can start at just about any time. So what we say, look, if you can get enrolment into us, we'll usually have you up and running that day, if not within a 24-hour period, of course, excluding weekends. Everything is included inside the course. So the software, the learning materials, textbooks, you name it, even resubmissions for assessment. So as Iona said, if you don't get the assessment completely right the first time, you do need to resubmit it. There's no additional charge or anything like that. So anything and everything that you need to complete the course is all included with your enrolment fee. Difference between study options. Now, we talked quite a lot about this earlier on, and that's, of course, the virtual classroom-based tutorial option, or completely self-directed. So if you feel totally confident with the course material, perhaps it's something you've had a lot of exposure to before, then maybe the self-directed would be the way to go. But really, by default, as I said, for that sense of connectivity, deeper understanding of the course material, opportunity to interact, ask questions, just really kind of the whole learning experience, if you've got an opportunity to certainly take advantage of the virtual classroom-based tutorials. Nationally recognised in all states and territories around Australia. It's an open entry course, there's no prerequisites, but we do ask that you have a reasonable command of the English language and numeracy skills. But again, if you've got any questions about that, just touch base with the education advice team, and of course they can answer any questions there. And people usually take around about 24 months to finish. Again, if you could dedicate perhaps more time every week, it may be a little bit less, but as we said earlier on, sometimes, you won't be able to commit as much time, perhaps, as you'd hope, so it may take you a little bit longer. But really, the time frame that you want to have in your mind is that 24-month time frame period. Bit of background on us. Mentor's been delivering online education since 2003 in financial services, business, project management, of course, accounting and bookkeeping, and also information technology, which is really exciting. In that time, we've worked really, really hard on things such as student engagement, obviously creating the best learning environment we can, particularly in an online environment, which I think is really interesting. And probably one of the biggest markers of our success is the student outcomes that we get. Now, we've got some information up there, and Iona, I'll get you to talk to us about what those numbers mean and where that information's from.
Thanks, James. Each year, the National Centre for Vocational Education and Research undertakes an Australia-wide survey of all students. And what we see here on the screen is, in a nutshell, what mentor education students say about us. And we thought we'd share this with everybody today. So 92% of our graduates from courses are employed or go on to enrol in further study after training. 91.6% of our students are satisfied with their overall quality of training, and 90.2% of students were satisfied with the all-important assessment. So we also would be happily recommended by 86.5% of our students as a training provider. These results from our students and these things that our students say about us truly exemplify our commitment to our students' career aspirations, and our commitment to our students' futures.
Now, finally, there's been a lot of information today, and if you haven't been diligently taking notes, don't stress. Anything and everything that we've talked about today is made available in a course guide by way of, and that course guide, of course, is available on the website. So if you'd like to enrol or get access to more information, head on over to mentor.edu.au and visit the FNS40217 Certificate 4 in Accounting and Bookkeeping course page. So again, you'll get anything and everything that we talked about today, plus more, including detailed information on what's included in each and every unit and all sorts of things like that. Otherwise, send us an email directly so you can contact our education advice team. So courseconsultant@bintor.edu.au. Email them directly, request some course information, a course guide, or even ask them a question directly. They're there and happy, of course, to answer any questions you may have. If the phone works best, 1300 306 146. Again, you can speak with the education advice team. They're based here in Melbourne and available between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. And if none of those options work, again, the education advice team is also available via a instant messaging chat box and function on the website. So again, that's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. For those who have your smartphones handy as well, you can scan that QR code up there on the screen, and that'll actually take you directly to the accounting and bookkeeping course page. And then finally, we just sort of had one question come in before we close off today. Now, if the student was to complete the Certificate 4 in Accounting and Bookkeeping, would they then have an option to perhaps include the entrepreneurship and new business later on, or you know, so you wouldn't necessarily have to enrol in both courses at the beginning. If you'd like to do that at a later stage, that's always a course made available to you as well.
Most definitely. The course is made available as a dual enrolment option, but the course is also delivered as a standalone course option. So students are able to enrol in any course that they meet the entry requirements for at any time during their study journey with us here at Mentor Education.
Great. All right, well, that brings us to the end of today's session. We hope you found it really, really enjoyable. Iona, thank you for your time today.
You're welcome, James, and I look forward to seeing everybody in class.
Absolutely, thank you. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. We hope you found it really beneficial. As Iona said, we look forward to seeing your students very soon. As always, take an opportunity to excite your potential, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.